Mrs. America is an American historical drama television miniseries produced by FX and originally aired on the sister streaming service FX on Hulu. Created and co-written by Davhi Waller and directed by Boden, Ryan Fleck, Amma Asante, Laure de Clermont-Tonnerre, and Janicza Bravo, the series details the unsuccessful political movement to pass the Equal Rights Amendment and the unexpected backlash led by the conservative activist Phyllis Schlafly in the 1970s. It features a large ensemble cast led by Cate Blanchett, Byrne, Uzo Aduba, Elizabeth Banks, Margo Martindale, John Slattery, Tracey Ullman, and Sarah Paulson. The 9-part series premiered in the United States on April 15, 2020, to widespread critical acclaim. At the 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards, it received 10 nominations, including Outstanding Limited Series and Outstanding Writing, as well as acting nominations for Blanchett, Aduba, Martindale, and Ullman, with Aduba winning Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or Movie. In January 2021, the American Film Institute named Mrs. America as one of the 10 best television shows of 2020. Albeit predominantly accurate, the series was criticized though by Gloria Steinem and Eleanor Smeel, who called it ridiculous and described it as lacking in historical accuracy. They argued the series portrayed the fight for the ERA as a catfight between women instead of showing that lobbyists protecting the financial interests of insurance and other companies affected by the change were far more influential in preventing the law from being passed. They believe this affects women's ability to believe they can affect change. Steinem and Smeal's comments were later disagreed with by fellow second-wave feminist Brenda Fagan, who called the series extraordinary and stated that, in her view, the nuance of the characters was portrayed very accurately. The show was also accused of being one-sided and inventing details to present Schlafly in an unsympathetic light. The cast includes Cate Blanchett as Phyllis Schlafly, a prominent conservative activist, lawyer and political lobbyist who founded the Stop ERA campaign, later the Eagle Forum. Byrne as Gloria Steinem, a prominent feminist, journalist and social political activist who co-founded the National Women's Political Caucus and Miss Magazine. Uzo Aduba as Shirley Chisholm, a politician, educator and author who was the first black candidate for a major party's nomination for the President of the United States and one of the first 2 women to run for the Democratic Party's nomination. Elizabeth Banks as Jill Rockenhouse, a Republican feminist activist, co-founder of the National Organization for Women, NOW, and the National Women's Political Caucus and head of the White House Office of Women's Programs. Kaylee Carter as Pamela, a fictional composite character, a young housewife and a member of Schlafly's Stop Era campaign. Ari Gaynor as Brenda Fagan, a feminist activist and attorney, the National Legislative Vice President of NOW. Melanie Lelinski as Rosemary Thompson, a conservative activist, member of the Stop Era campaign and the head of Schlafly's Eagle Foundation. Margo Martindale as Bella Abzug, a U.S. congresswoman and prominent feminist activist, co-founder of NOW and the National Women's Political Caucus, and leader of President Carter's National Advisory Commission for Women. John Slattery as Fred Schlafly, the husband of Phyllis, a wealthy lawyer and a conservative activist and an ardent anti-communist. Jeanne Tripplehorn as Eleanor Schlafly, the sister-in-law of Phyllis and a conservative activist and ally of the Stop ERA campaign. Tracey Ullman as Betty Friedan, a prominent feminist activist, author of The Feminine Mystique and the co-founder of NOW and the National Women's Political Caucus. And Sarah Paulson as Alice McRae, a fictional composite character intended to represent the conservative woman that followed Schlafly's Stop ERA campaign, a housewife and a friend of Phyllis. Now for me, Mrs. America captures the complicated life and times of Phyllis Schlafly with poise and style. She was a fascinating character, but oh so controversial in her beliefs of pro-life and the argument of a woman's place in society. She herself was highly intelligent, well-spoken, and actually wanted more for her life as a woman, but was held down by her conservative and traditional values. The topics in this show are so relevant to this day, and it was absolutely fascinating to realize that women's rights were being fought out for so long in such recent history. Now, Phyllis is brought to vivid life here by a superb, phenomenal performance by the masterful Cate Blanchett. She is perfect and devastating in every scene, and I'm just sorry that she didn't go on to win an Emmy or a Golden Globe for this performance. I did find this show absolutely fascinating, and it's meticulously created and observed the history of the time. And as I said earlier, the show fits in perfectly into contemporary America as women still strive for equality and recognition within daily society. Tracey Ullman is fantastic as Friedan, the outspoken feminine mystique author, now raging for relevance in the current wave of feminism. Margo Martindale once again turns out a sublime performance here, as battling Bella, a tornado of a force of a woman. Creator Davhi Waller, whose history as a writer for Mad Men is evident in Mrs. America's vivid, complex depiction of America's controversial recent past. Now all the cast are on point here, from Byrne as Gloria Steinem to Elizabeth Banks as Jill Rockenhouse. even the ever-fantastic Sarah Paulson as the fictional character of Alice McRae. But of course I have to mention the standout and the actress that won for this role, which was Uzo Aduba as Shirley Chelsom. She really brings a gravitas to this role, and I thought her performance was excellent. There is a degree of moral and political, philosophical complexity in what differentiates Miss America from so many other recent dramatizations of women's movements in the past. I found the show to be a tremendously executed balancing act. Here we have two sides of the same story. We have the pro-feminist, we have the anti-feminists, but both have relevant arguments to be made. And instead of the show taking sides, what it does do is it paints a portrait and lets you know who all these women were and what they stood for, and reveals how multi-layered each one of them was. Whatever side you stand on the argument, it is a fascinating show, well acted, well made, and well thought out. For me, there is no denying that Mrs. America makes history come alive in a thoughtful, yet fascinating and sometimes scary detail. I highly recommend this show to anyone interested in learning about women's rights and just reliving relevant history that is so applicable to today's age. Mrs. America gets a 9 out of 10.